Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Just letting you guys get all logged on. Getting everybody in here. Hello, everybody. I'm having a day. It's Wednesday, I know, but darn it, I'm having a day. Hi, everybody. Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. So I got to tell you a funny story. I had a mini heart attack this morning. Telling a client on the phone that LA County's moratorium is set to expire at the end of this month, and they could extend it 30 days indefinitely. And my boss yells out, "Patty, they extended it last night." Nobody panic, okay? Nobody panic. No, they didn't, okay? No, they didn't. Don't panic. But I'm like, what do you mean they extended it last night? So he sent me this email and I started reading it, and it's all about how they're extending tenant protections for the homeless people, not for COVID-19. So I had a little mini heart attack that I didn't need to have. It was awesome. He scared me a good one. Yeah. So as of right now, there is no talk of them extending the COVID-19 moratorium in LA County. Okay, just saying. They are extending the homelessness protections. Okay, not the COVID protections. Just so we're all on the same page, reading the same book. I thought it was hilarious. It threw me for a loop. So thought I'd share with you guys my little mini heart attack this morning, because it did make me go, wait, what? I have decided to become homeless. I will have more protections. You know, I'm starting to think that direction. It might be a great idea, just saying. Homelessness, hey, it is a protected class, If a prospective tenant only writes the last four numbers of the Social Security on the application, should we ask for the entire number, even if we send them to My Smart Moves and do their background check? We don't get the full number. Yeah, you want to ask them for the full number. I mean, that's just what we need in order to process the application. So I understand that for security purposes that you gave us just the last four, but we may want to actually run your credit. Therefore, we need the entire number. So you can either call them to obtain that information. But yeah, I'd ask for it. Just the last four digits are nothing. That's like giving somebody the last four digits of your bank account number. Who cares? Without the rest of it, you can't do anything. So just something to think about. Just four numbers is nothing. It's like the last four numbers of your checking account, hey, it's just the last four, can't do anything with them. So I would to let them know that you require them to provide their entire Social Security number. Yeah, there you go, Val. Kind of makes you wonder when those types of things happen as to what actually is going on. And you guys got to remember one thing. When you're calling that landlord on their application, you are calling who they want you to call. Could be their Aunt Sally. Could be anybody. Okay. But when a tenant gives you a phone number on an application to call their landlord, you are calling who that tenant wants you to call. It might not be their landlord. You don't know. Keep that in mind, okay? I know, Val, I know. I know you know their landlord. Don't know where they're living. And you got to be careful what you say so you don't get their landlord into trouble. Like, I called your landlord and your landlord said they had no idea you were vacating. You didn't give them a 30-day notice. Connie, what you talking about? If there is domestic disputes between neighbors with police reports, if they decide to move and break their lease, Can we charge rent until a new resident moves in if they're still under their lease term? I'm going to teach you guys something in property management and you're not going to like it. And it has to do with just because you can doesn't mean you should. Got it? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay, it has to do with ethics. So if these two neighbors were truly fighting with each other and they were creating a nuisance in your property, then I might charge them. Or because it wasn't a great living arrangement. It happens. Can you imagine if you lived next to somebody that was just a nightmare to you? Have you seen the movie The Burbs? Okay, just saying. If they moved out so there would be no problems, do you want to penalize them for that? I mean, just because they didn't get along with a neighbor? I don't know all of the circumstances. So you're going to have to tell me, hell no, Patty, we want to hold their foot to the fire. Then I'm going to tell you, then hold their foot to the fire. But I'm trying to get you to think in another perspective. If this is what it takes to make everybody live happy, is that person moving out and that person's willing to move out? If that person wasn't the problem, I'd be reluctant to hold their foot to the fire. If they were the problem, then I'm torching away. I'm holding both feet to the fire. So it just depends on what your circumstances are, if that makes sense. If this made it much easier that you dodged a bullet and now you're not having to put 2 units through eviction in LA County, you might want to take that into consideration. Just saying. They could have made this a nightmare. I'm not saying we want to reward bad behavior, but at the same time, pick and choose your battles. Okay. And I hope that all made sense. Connie, landlord is a property manager who recently inherited their property, so he's checking on this later. The landlord is a property manager who recently inherited this property, so he's checking on this later today. Okay, Val. My insurance broker says they've never heard of wrongful eviction coverage or unlawful eviction coverage. I want to say that State Farm or Farmers offers that insurance coverage. I may be covered under our liability coverage, but they couldn't tell me for sure. They need to investigate, and when a lawsuit occurs, they give me a couple scenarios: habitability or illegal eviction or legally evictions. The broker still couldn't tell me if I'm covered. If they can't tell you if you're covered, then you're not. Make sense? I would start shopping insurance that provides the coverages that you're looking for. Okay. Start insurance shopping. Difficult scenario. Oh, I thought it said difficult scenario. I was going to say, what's difficult about it? They're all difficult. No, it says different. I'm okay. I just need more caffeine. Different scenario. Property eviction took place. Okay. Unpaid rent. Got it. Can we keep their security deposit for attorney's fees and rent? Not sure where we stand with COVID or changes. So let me ask you some questions really quick, Connie, and you're going to have to answer me. What county is this in? Number one. And the only protections that they're offered in COVID, and this is just me talking to you out loud, okay, is they have a year to pay back the funds that they were affected during the COVID pandemic. However, the only thing that gives them the option of a year to pay that back is if they're still in possession. So when they vacate it, all the money becomes due and payable now. So you're going to do a regular disposition of security deposit, charging them lates. I'm sorry, no charge of late fees in LA County on a dispo, but you can charge everything else. Okay. Non-payment of rent, you can put it all back on the dispo. If you go back for rents during the COVID protected period and you need to get a small claims judgment against them, you have to do 2 different small claims. One for the COVID protected period and one for just regular small claims, just so you understand. In Riverside, perfect. So you don't have any protections. So no, once they vacated, they don't have any protections anymore. So put everything that they owe you on your disposition as security deposit. Connie's situation reminds me of a similar issue we had with a home we were trying to rent. We turned down a single woman with small children since the neighbor was a creep and assumed peeping Tom. We eventually put a single man in the unit, but felt badly about turning down the lady, but felt it was best. So yeah, sometimes you do have to do some things based on information that you know, and that's where it becomes really tricky because you want to make sure you're not discriminating. Do you think the tenant will pay if we put them in a small claims? No, but you can garnish their wages. Do I ever think a tenant will pay? No, but if you get a small claims garnishment against them and get an order to be paid, then you can garnish their wages, seize the funds in their bank accounts, which we like to do right around income tax refund time. So just so you guys all know, I work at Fast Evictions Law Group, and we're also a full service collection agency. I'm letting people in, just bear with me. Hello, everybody. And for those of you joining me tomorrow with our webinar with AGLA, we're doing a webinar on emotional support animals and what the rules are. So don't miss that one. That's with AGLA. I'm waiting for Val to say, hey, Patty, what does your shirt say? It says adultish. Adultish. Val's my funny one. She always keeps me laughing. So I thought that was a good one. Adultish. I'm not quite adult size. I'm adult-ish. All right. What else you guys got? If you got nothing, I'm going to talk to you about the new laws. There's new limits been put on wage garnishment. Ironically, as we're talking about wage garnishments, those don't take effect until September 1st of 2023. It raises the amount of income a debtor can earn and still be protected from wage garnishments. So it's going to be a little tricky going forward. We also have new protections regarding domestic violence. And those protections, that's through Senate Bill 1017. Hang on, David said something. AGLA is so much more expensive than AOA. Any ideas why? I can tell you exactly why. You want to know? You want to know? Okay, here's my opinion, so buckle up. Ready? AOA is strictly for profit. It is owned by an individual and is for profit. The money you pay annually for your membership dues goes in someone's pocket. When you pay AGLA annually for membership dues, a portion of your membership dues goes to the PAC, which is the Political Advocate Fund that fights all these legislative bills. They actually have a fund where part of your membership dues goes to be a voice for all of us and fight for all of us. They stay very active in the law changes and update their documents accordingly. And they're a great resource that's recognized on the national level. Okay, they have national affiliations. So that's kind of putting the difference between AOA, which is owned individually and is strictly for profit, versus AGLA, which is nationally recognized across the nation. Yes, AGLA does offer tenant screenings. And they offer free classes. All their classes that they offer are usually free online. Okay, so I hope that helps explain the difference of why. the why, okay? Geraldo, the tenant is supposed to leave in 4 weeks per the stipulated judgment. Per the agreement, the rent is forgiven and the deposit is waived. Do I need to do an inspection or do anything else before he leaves? No, what you want to do is if he doesn't leave when he agreed to, you want to talk to your attorney about filing a declaration of non-compliance so that the record is unsealed, so that that money judgment shows, the eviction shows, and you still get possession. So one of the things everybody needs to know is if you guys do a stipulated agreement and you guys all sign and agree to something and the tenant doesn't fulfill their end of the deal, okay, then you can ask your attorney if you can file a declaration of non-compliance, and that would then unseal the record so that everybody could see it. It would make the money not waived anymore, okay? Following along, and then you can still proceed with a lockout. So you want to make sure you talk to your attorney about a declaration of non-compliance if your tenant doesn't vacate when they're supposed to on a stipulated agreement. Still deciding if we will choose the tenants that didn't provide their full number. They did not put down a deposit. We have another family interested. The first family is expecting they are getting the unit. The rug may be pulled out from under them if we choose the second family. Now we wonder what problems may arise if we snubbed family number one, even though no deposit was given. Verbally, we told them they would get it, but they didn't do what we asked. I'm sorry, your application's incomplete. We don't accept incomplete applications. I'm going to go back to that and stick right by it every time you ask. I get that they told you they applied, but they didn't apply if they didn't provide you everything that you were requiring. Their application is incomplete, so they're not in line. Got it? We only accept completed applications. Your application's incomplete. We're still waiting for you to provide the rest of the documentation we require to process. And until we receive that, we'll take next in line every time. I hope that clicks. And if you need more help, let me know. Pets and affordable units. What's not becoming law? Do we want to know which ones, you guys, we won? We won one. We won a cool, a few requiring, they tried to put a cooling mandate on us, you guys. And I'll read it to you. It did not pass. It would have strained California's aging power grid by requiring that property rental owners ensure that their units are adequately cool for tenants. So if you didn't have an AC, this would have forced you to install one. This did not pass. And then we stopped AB 1791, which would have authorized cities and counties to cap rent increases on single family rentals regardless of their age if owned by corporations and with 10 or more units and a specified gross income. That didn't pass either. We're really happy on that one. They tried to do another one, AB 1771, which would have levied a heavy tax on individuals who purchase rental housing and who sell it within 7 years. It's called the anti-house flipping legislation, and it would have created a 25% tax on the capital gain produced by the sale of residential property within 3 years of buying it. But that didn't pass either. They've shot down quite a few bills. You guys have no idea. That would have been horrific for us. And it's the political advocate fund that pays for them to fight these. And if you're with AOA, they're not contributing to that. So again, this shows where your tax dollars or where your membership dollars go. When they stop all of these bills from happening. There was another one that said if we wanted to list our houses for sale, we first had to offer it to the tenant. Wait, what? So with that being said, that one didn't pass either. They deemed that one as unconstitutional. They've shot down quite a bit of them. After using the Ellis Act and taking units off the rental market, some owners convert their properties into a tenant in common. And sorry, you guys, sorry, somebody was trying to call me. So it sought to restrict this type of housing by allow cities and counties to regulate how owners hold formal rental properties after converting them to ownership housing. That didn't pass either. So we've had quite a few bills that we won, and they didn't pass, thank God. They stopped another one. This is a good one. Assembly Bill 2527 would have prohibited rental property owners from asking potential tenants anything that would be included in a credit report, such as payment history or evictions. It would have prohibited owners from accessing a credit report if the tenant receives any form of government subsidy. So if they're on Section 8 or anything, it would have made it so you can't run their credit. That didn't pass. So being involved with an apartment association that actually fights the legislative bills that are going up against us is priceless, in my opinion. You may pay $100 more, this me talking out loud, for AGLA versus AOA, but if that $100 helps stop these ludicrous bills from holding our hands as landlords, then I'm all for it. And I get that not everybody can afford to contribute. I get that. But if you're doing it in your membership, it's a little easier to swallow. And Val, you're not hogging. I see you said something about hogging. I'm sorry I had to be a hog today, but I have a sensitive issue. We moved a tenant from one of our homes into another. Sadly, we were unable to do a pre-move out. 3 of our staff were unable to help out, and so we didn't. So we trusted them and let them move into a larger, nicer unit. Now they have moved out and found 3 kicked in doors, broken vanity, punched holes, etc. They were expecting money back from their original deposit, but it looks like they may owe money now due to the damage. Now I'm wondering how we can ask for a double deposit in the place they just moved into. Is this a duplex or a single family residence that they just moved into, Val? Okay, so are they on a month to month or a year contract? You tell me. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. Okay. I'm going to tell you that once that ends, you can do a 30-day notice to change of terms of tenancy, requesting a higher security deposit, giving them 30 days to pay that higher deposit. And if they don't pay it, you can start eviction. I would also give them the disposition of security deposit on the damages from their old house and tell them that they need to pay those within 30 days to avoid any problems. They're in a 1 year, you can't touch them until that year is over as far as increasing their deposit. So when their lease is over, you want to increase their deposit and their rent. Sorry, people are trying to call me. Sorry. So after the year contract, then you can do a rent increase, you can do a deposit increase, but for the year, you can't touch them. What you can do is ride their butts about paying the damage for the other unit. And then I would set up quarterly inspections of the interior of the new property. So I'd inspect that quarterly, checking on that. And then you need to be on top of them as far as paying that past due on their other unit. They need to bring that current to avoid any complications moving forward. You like my verbiage? You need to bring that current before any complications arise for moving forward. Plus they're lying about a pet. Don't say an animal. It's a pet. We don't know that it's an animal, so we're calling it a pet. So unauthorized pet, 3-day curable breach of covenant. And then, yeah, You put them in a year contract, so you can't change the rules. They said it was a feral cat. Feral cat means that nobody owns it. So why is it following you around? You need to go take it to the pound. You're feeding it is what's going on. What do I know? Stray cats usually don't stay. Oh, I was going to say something. It was bad. Stray cats usually don't stick around unless there's something in it for them. And yes, I put my big filter on for those of you that know me. You know, I'm trying to say the same thing about tenants and relationships and things of that nature. And I'll be quiet now. Can I stop them from feeding it or stop them from feeding them? Lots of bowls outside. 3-day curable breach of covenant for feeding unauthorized pets. If they have food outside, they're attracting a nuisance and attracting vermin and creating a nuisance. Got it? A 3-day cure or quit to remove the food bowls from the property, as you are attracting a nuisance. Let me give you an example. Let's say you got a couple of feral cats out there and they're male and they spray on everything. Yeah, we don't want to attract that. None of us wants to go get in our car and have it smell like cat urine. We don't want to attract that. We want to discourage that. So if in fact it is a feral cat, let them know that you're going to have animal control come out and trap it and haul it away. If they're saying it's feral, what would they care? Yeah, I know I'm being an ass, but sometimes you have to be. Oh, it's not your cat. It's just a feral cat. Okay, I'll call animal control. Thanks for letting me know. I'm sure they'll set out traps. Yep. If there's bowls inside, then she's doing it. So 3-day curable breach of covenant to remove the pet bowls, food and water bowls from the property as you are attracting a nuisance. And if it's inside, take photos because that proves they're letting it in. It's not just a feral cat if it's in your house. It is your pet and it is unauthorized. Doesn't anybody have anything else that they really need to talk about today? Hi, Lee. What are examples of legal rental incentives that an owner can provide to a tenant which would not impact their net rent for rental increase purposes under Senate Bill 1482? Do you mean AB 1482? It's AB 1482.
Yeah.
Statewide. Okay.
Sorry.
You threw me for a loop, Lee. I thought maybe you were messing with my blonde hair.
Get AB messed up, you know, all legislators have similar agendas.
I got you. For example, if a tenant's provided 1 month free rent, does that concession impact the tenant's basis for calculating the next year's increase? No, it does not. It's a concession. So if you're offering $500 off the first month's rent or a first month's rent free upon approved credit or something like that, the concession does not control the rent. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Let me go backwards. Does that concession impact the tenant's rent basis? No, it does not. Also, is it legal to rent a garage to an existing tenant under a separate parking agreement so that the monthly garage rent is not subject to rent control? Yes, and in San Diego, which is where you are, Lee, I would start doing that. Here's what I could tell you, Lee, to help you. LA City's rent control spread like cancer and infected 144 cities in LA County. They're coming after San Diego next. They're hitting the metropolises. The city of San Diego already has implemented forms of rent control within the city that are similar to the city of Los Angeles. And we anticipate the county following suit in a rapid fashion. So by you separating your houses from your parking, it gives you separate opportunities to increase rents and not be subject to that. So you want to make sure you're using a monthly garage addendum, okay? And making sure that that's not subject to rent control is having two separate agreements that are not together. So you want to get that all in line now. And if I were you, Lee, I'd start looking at what AGLA's doing. The Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles has a rental agreement, and then they have a separate parking agreement. It's that separate parking agreement you want to get a hold of, because that's what you need to be implementing because of what we anticipate is going to be coming in your general direction. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Can you run over small claims court and the tenant has left COVID period claim? Yes, I will, not a problem. So Lee, do you need anything else or do you get that? I would look at what AGLA has offered for their separate garage or parking agreement, because it is completely separate from the rental. And I understand what you're asking me. I hear you. I hear you crystal clear. You might as well line up your ducks and brace for impact if we have a pretty good idea, and I mean pretty good idea, that the next place rent control is going to hit is the county of San Diego. It is already implemented in the city, and it is coming about in a very rapid fashion. So
yeah, I totally agree. I was just wondering, are there any other creative ideas you can think of? Like if a unit has a backyard, you don't have to rent the backyard to the tenant. Could I do a backyard agreement too, or is that just a
I
little
wouldn't do
overboard?
that, but I'd consider a separate pet agreement.
Okay.
Okay, that's another place you can conquer that. And if you're in LA, do not listen to what I'm saying to you. She's trying to beat the legislation that's going to hit her in the near future. So she's trying to line up her ducks to prepare for what we anticipate is going to hit her. That's all she's trying to do. And the nicest way I could say it is, watch out, San Diego, you're LA #2. Okay. And I can tell you this, the reason that we say that and the reason that we know these things are coming about is, look at it this way. Heavy populated areas come with heavy restrictions against landlords. That would be metropolises like LA County, San Diego County, paying attention, okay? They are a metropolis. So don't expect San Diego to go under the radar. They are in the limelight as being hit by this next. No joke. And then if I had to guess, I think they'd go after Orange County third. Heavy population of tenants. Okay.
Well, Patty, I remember once you said, you were talking about if tenants do work around the property or something, it's a bad thing. I can't remember what you said about that. Could you go over that? And I was thinking, like, see, I take pity on these poor tenants, because in San Diego, rents, no, really, truly, I do. I mean, I loved it before rent control. I would rent out a place for half price to a really good tenant. In fact, I had tenants for 26 years because they did things for me. One was a plumber. He did all my plumbing. He just, it was just like a barter agreement. But I would love to be able to, charge market rent and then give the tenant a break and give them a side agreement, like they're going to take care of security at the property, and then I reimburse them a monthly amount. Would that be exempt?
On a separate agreement, that might work, but here's the reality. If there's a habitability issue, the tenant doesn't owe rent. We don't want the tenants fixing habitability issues, because wouldn't you take your time so you didn't have to pay the rent? Just saying. The other place it gets in trouble when you have the tenants doing work for you is if they do bad work, you have no recourse.
Oh, no. I always use licensed contractors. I'm just saying,
I know, but
just to give
here's
them a contract that they're gonna, for example, they're going to, I know what you said. You said one time about a tenant taking trash cans out. What did that do to them?
the landlord put in writing, yes, they do work for me around the property, maybe 20 hours a month. So then the tenant took that letter to the labor board and sued the landlord for not paying proper wages.
Oh. So if I say, I want you just to take the garbage out and I'm going to pay you $500 a month just because I'm nice, right? Could that get me in trouble?
Absolutely. You just hired them to do a job. How many hours does that take them? Is that less than minimum wage? Are you offering the required sick leave? I mean, this goes right into employment law, and now you're an employer and you got to follow all of that garb.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. No problem. But that's what I'm trying to say to you guys is watch out for that, because they'll use it as employment again.
Yeah, I would love some time for you to do a presentation on creative ideas for this. You know, I know there must be a million, you know, and you are the most creative person I know, Patty. You're amazing.
Well, I can tell you this as a funny is, let's talk about the creative ideas you don't want to do.
Okay.
Probably where I could speak out more, because I have so much more I want to say about, hey, everybody's telling you landlords to sign up for an ADU. You could gain your income, get an ADU, make an ADU. The city's helping. They're allowing permits for ADUs. It's all great. Get an ADU. What they're not telling you is this. If you have a single family home, and that home is exempt from statewide rent control because it is only a single family home, and you put an ADU unit on the property, the ADU unit is exempt for the first 15 years, but that house that's been sitting there has rent control immediately. And once the ADU is over 15 years old, it has rent control. So what they're not telling landlords when they're talking about this great idea to supplement your income by putting in an ADU is you're signing up for statewide rent control. Talk about bait and switch. Okay, so I get you, Lee. I love that you think I have those great creative ideas, but I'm with you. I think I should do a class on creative ideas you just shouldn't think about.
Okay.
Creative ideas that shouldn't enter your mind.
Patty, I can offer something else. I'm a state licensed appraiser, and I do commercial, mostly apartment buildings, or I used to. I'm handicapped now, so I've cut back. But another thing that's bad about an ADU is, let's say you're in a place like I actually live in Orange County, and I have a property in Newport Beach, and it's ripe for an ADU because I have a 4-car garage. But if I converted even to an ADU and was willing to go with the rent control, which I'm not, if I sell it, it's a smaller, you know, it's an under improvement for the neighborhood. If I were to sell that down the road, the new owner could never demo the place and build a mega mansion, you see, and nobody thinks about that. Add that to your list.
Yeah, you got it right on your nose. By them encouraging us to do one thing, it's actually stopping us from doing something down the road. We don't realize how quickly that happens, but Lee's right. If you rezone it to be an ADU, they won't ever let you destroy it to become a mega mansion. She's right. It always has to say a multifamily dwelling. Paying attention? Bait and switch, right? They're not telling you the nasty part of it. They're just telling you the good part of it and the benefits for you now, right now. Don't. It's bad. Okay, our tenants are blind. Do you mean they're literally blind? Linda?
Yes, they're literally blind. Legally blind.
Just asking, I didn't know if it was like a metaphor, you know, hey, my tenants are blind. They go there every day, They live there for months, but they don't remember to pay their rent and they're blind because of it. So no, I got you. They are literally blind. They have their relatives parking in front of their garage and blocking the narrow driveway. This is happening continually. It is in incorporated city of Bellflower, LA County. That would be a 3-day curable breach of covenant for not parking in the designated spaces or the designated areas per your rental contract.
Well-
So what are the rules in your rental agreement that's going to stop them from doing that?
Well, they don't have a car because they're blind. It's their relatives parking there. So it's unauthorized parking.
Okay, so guests from within your unit are parking in an area that's not allowed for parking. That's
Right.
a 3-day curable breach of covenant notice.
Okay,
A cure or quit as you know it, okay?
okay, thanks.
No problem. Parking lot agreement can be done with a 30-day notice. Potentially, yes, it just depends on what you have going on, what city you're in, what your restrictions are, if you're in a term, if you're not in a term. So it can get a little bit tricky with that parking. You definitely want to reach out to somebody that can help hold your hand to make sure that you line those ducks up properly, and that you're not doing a reduction in services for the person that's already in possession. Because if you're doing a reduction in services by removing their garage, you must give them a reduction in rent. Ouch.
Okay.
Okay, so keep that in mind when you guys are thinking about implementing these parking agreements, is you got to be careful on how it's done so that you're not baiting and switching. Got it?
Okay,
Very careful with you guys on these parking agreements. It's a very tricky way to offset expenses and implement what we're all trying to do, and that's protect our asset to the best of our ability. I get that, but you got to be very careful when you're dealing with somebody that already has restrictions like LA City, LA County, and you're going in and changing those lease terms. We need to talk about that and how we change that and how we make that happen. And like I said, if you're reducing services, you have to reduce rent accordingly. If you're removing a 4-car garage from a tenant in a single family residence, here's an example. And garage rent in LA runs about $150, and you just took 4 spaces away from them, you need to reduce their rent accordingly. Okay.
we just have rules that there's no one can park in the parking spots unless they're a tenant. And the tenants they don't have cars because they're blind. So
guests within your unit are not abiding by our policies and procedures. And you have 3 days to correct this. And if you don't, you could be evicted. And notice I didn't say you will be, I said you could be, because we don't use any threats. Okay.
Okay.
Super. We learned absolute terms when we were back in like 7th, 8th grade. And I always take everybody back to 8th grade English. Remember when you learned about absolute terms? Yes, no, can. Those are absolute terms, right? We want to use no absolutes. Should, could, might, most likely, maybe. If we use those terms, then we're absolutely not giving the wrong answer, because it's not a definite term. We said could, we said should, we said might, we said most likely. We didn't say you will be. And if we don't write in those terms, then we're not threatening them.
I see.
Perfect. You could be evicted sounds much better than you will be evicted. Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, so that's how you do it, is just don't write in absolute terms, and you're not writing a threat. And if you don't speak in absolute terms, then you're not threatening anybody and you're not giving a definite answer. So you can't give the wrong answer because you didn't speak in definite terms. It's a trick. My kids hate it because for 10 years is not speaking. Mom, do you want to go to the movies? Most likely. They're like, can't you give me a straight answer? No, my brain's programmed not to do that anymore. The only time the only time I'm allowed to give a straight answer is when I'm in court. Other than that, it doesn't come out of my mouth. It's just a way we retrain our brains. And when you're writing, that's the biggest one. If you don't use absolute terms, you are not threatening them. could, should, might, most likely, maybe. Those are all terms I want you to use, no matter what you're doing. That way you're not threatening them and you're not doing anything that's going to hang you up later.
Super.
No problem. I see more stuff coming in. Let me get to it. Val, I will call you later as I need your wise words to use. Of course, Val. I'm tempted to call the tenant that moved into my nice house to address the damage at the previous home. Obviously, this is an anger issue, but I can say that. Yes, you can say that you're very disappointed with the condition she left the property in. Okay. I think she's just a liar and her husband has an asked her. She might be a victim of domestic violence, Val. She could be one of those people that are just stuck in a shit show. Tenant said it was for moving a chair. It doesn't matter. You still got to charge him for it. 24-hour notice. 24-hour notice for you to go in and you just serve them quarterly. Can you go over that again, adding an ADU, no demo down the line, and main unit loses rent control protection? Yeah, let me explain it this way, Jay. Oh, I can't draw because I have the screen thing on. So if I draw on a piece of paper, you guys can't see it. See, it wipes it out. See, look. Watch, I can disappear. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Blonde. Okay. If you have a single family residence exempt from the Tenant Protection Act, it's just a single family sitting on its own individual parcel, and you decide that you're going to add an ADU to the property, you are changing it from a single family residence to a multi-family dwelling. Because the owner doesn't live on the property, it is now a duplex and subject to rent control because there's more than one parcel on the tax bill. You have two. So as soon as you get a certificate of occupancy on the ADU, which says, hey, well, you can move into me, your house has rent control because there's a second unit on the tax bill. So the house that's always been there immediately gets rent control because it's over 15 years old. The ADU is exempt for the first 15 years. And then it also gets rent control on 15 years and 1 month from the certificate of occupancy. Okay. So in 15 years, both of them will have rent control. For the first 15, only the house has rent control. The ADU will be exempt. Okay. And then because you rezoned for multifamily instead of single family, a lot of communities, and San Diego is one of them, LA is another one. If you have a multifamily plot and it's deemed as residential multifamily, meaning more than one unit on there, okay, they will not let you rezone that to turn it back into single family residence. You can make it more multifamily, but you can't make it not multifamily. Does that make sense to you? So a lot of times when they do this, it changes the zoning, and the way the zoning is written, once they do it, you can't undo it. Got it? So that's what we're talking about. That's what these people are not talking about. Those are the changes that people aren't telling you about. Okay, sign up an ADU. You can offset your expenses. You're signing up the house that's always been there for rent control. Immediately, it will have AB 1482 like that. You immediately have to disclose to the tenant that the house is subject to AB 1482 as soon as you have a certificate of occupancy on the ADU. I hope that makes sense. Okay, and then it changes the zoning, because that city's so happy to change that zoning for you, then they won't let it change back. Okay, so for somebody that wants to wipe out a couple of single family residences and build a mega mansion, it's not gonna happen. I've said I do not want to evict anyone. I want tenants who pay rent. Is this a threat? No. I don't want to evict anyone either. But if you don't do your job as the tenant and pay your rent, then I'm going to have to do my job as the landlord and start the legal process because you didn't pay the rent. So please don't make me do my job. I'm really good at it. And yes, I've said that to tenants. I usually say it when I'm moving in. And what I'll tell them is, hey, I like to keep an open line of communication. So if I need to come over here to check the smoke detectors or do something for the insurance company, I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you. I'm going to shoot you out a text. I'm going to send you an email. I'm going to keep this real civil. In the event that you don't respond to me and you ignore me and you find a notice on your door, know that I'm already pissed off because I'm already having to do my job. If you find a note on your door, it means I can't get a hold of you any other way, and I'm having to do my job. I'd rather just communicate with you. That's all you can do. That's all you can do is you can tell them. If I post a notice on your door, I'm already pissed because it means I can't get a hold of you any other way. So let's not piss off your property manager, okay? It's bad for business. I like Lee's idea of doing a class called Creative Ideas that just don't work, so don't try them. I think we're gonna have a huge problem, and this is just me talking out loud, you guys, but what do I know? I got a feeling that LA County, or maybe even the entire state of California, is going to make it so we can't charge late fees anymore. I got a feeling. Don't know that for sure. It's just what I'm seeing happen. It's making me think they're going to eliminate those. That'll be the next challenge for them, is to eliminate late fees across the state. That's going to be my guess of what the next battle is going to be. We'll see. We'll see. All right, you guys, if you don't have anything else, I'm going to get off of here because I realize sometimes when I just ramble, you guys, my thoughts as they pop into my head, that sometimes I sound like a crazy lunatic. You're like, wait, Patty, what are you talking about? They're going to eliminate late fees. Well, if you're going through an eviction right now in LA County, your attorney most likely is going to ask you to see your rent increase notices because they are not including any rent increases through the entire COVID pandemic in your eviction because it's too questionable whether it's going to stand or not. Remember, there's no case law yet regarding COVID, so we want to stay away from all of that if we can. We don't want to get involved in a case law case. They're timely and expensive. Fast eviction says they've already filed something with the sheriffs just in case the tenant doesn't leave. This way, I couldn't have to wait weeks for lockout. Can you explain what they've filed and what this process is like? Yes. You probably have a stipulated agreement stating that the tenant is going to move out, and I'm just throwing out a date on the 15th of February. Okay, that's when the tenant said they would get out. Yeah, how'd I know? Stipulated agreement. See, I'm a little smart cookie sometimes. So that stipulated agreement has a vacate date that the tenant agreed that they would move out by. Let's just pretend right now that it's February 14th, Valentine's Day. What a gift, right? We are going to file for that writ of possession and get it from the court. Oh, see, hey, the 14th is Valentine's Day. We're going to get that writ of possession for the court, and then we're going to ask you to pay the $175 for the sheriff, and there's a reason why. We don't want to wait and see if they vacate like they agreed. We want to hire the sheriff and already have that system in the works. Here's the why behind it. Some sheriffs are taking 6 weeks. Can you imagine how pissed off you'd be at me if I waited until the 15th of February to see if they moved out like they were supposed to on the 14th and then filed for the sheriff, and then it took 6 weeks from then? You'd be mad I'd be mad. So my theory is spend the money, get things going with the sheriff so we can get as close to that lockout date as we possibly can. That way you're not losing any additional time or money. Otherwise, you'd be looking at 6 weeks after the fact. We don't want to do that. We want to try to build this case so that we all end up at the same place at the same time or damn close to it. Okay. I hope that makes sense to you, but that's why we push for you to order the sheriff as quickly as possible. Some sheriff's office won't allow us to send the paperwork to them until 2 weeks before the lockout, which is fine too, because we're still 2 weeks ahead if you waited too long. So I gotcha. I can look, Geraldo, send me the address and I'll look it up as soon as I get back to my desk, okay? I'd take you guys all through the office, but then you'd hear everything that was going on and you'd laugh at me. Parking lot garage agreement can be done with a 30-day notice. In most cities, yes, not in LA County. We'll talk about that. We can go into whole depth and breadth of parking agreements. Oh, thank you guys, because you're helping me come up with class subjects for AGLA for this year. So I appreciate you. Parking agreements. And I'm doing one with them tomorrow on, what am I teaching them tomorrow? What are we talking about tomorrow? We're talking about emotional support animals tomorrow, ESA. What those rules are, what the new rules are, and how they could be considered retaliatory if you're not careful with them. Youch, we don't need that, right? All right, you guys, I'm going to get off of here. Have a wonderful day. If you need me, hunt me down. Val, give me a call this evening. I'm usually on my commute back home at about 6 o'clock. So if you guys all need to call me, 6 to 6:30 is a great time to call me. My tenant wants to leave and write a payment plan for the back rents. Any suggestions? Yeah, have them write that payment plan out. Once they vacate, all the money becomes due and payable. The only thing that protects them from making payments is the fact that they're in there. And here's my thing, make a payment plan with them. I mean, it is what it is. Just make a payment plan with them if it works for you. And the first time they're late, file small claims and sue them in small claims court for everything they owe you, and then put the wage garnishment on them. Is speaking with the problem tenant better than writing down all the damage and serving all these legal documents? Yes. Yes, Val. And yes, Val, even though you're not the nice guy, you are the nice guy, Val. We just need to revamp you. Look at it this way. What if she's a victim of domestic violence? What if? I get that they did some damage. Make them accountable for it. Make them responsible for it. Hold their foot to the fire, but do it nicely. Use honey, not vinegar. Okay. And I know you know what I'm talking about. All right. Does anybody have anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to end this for today and let you guys get back to your wonderful days. Absolutely, you guys. I'm here to help you pick your brains, help everybody with their problems, because when somebody comes on here and they're like, hey, I have an issue, I have a problem, and we all start listening to them, it makes us all think, well, maybe I better be paying attention. Something might help me here too. So that's the reason why I do this, is so that we can all brainstorm together and work together as a team, because let's face it, we're outnumbered. We need all the camaraderie that we can get between each other, okay? Thank all you guys. You guys are awesome. I love y'all. Couldn't do this without you. And here's to a great new year for all of us. Mwah. We need one. We've had enough of this. Can you put your AGLA presentation on your site? I can try. I'll ask AGLA to email me a copy of it when it's over, and then I'll see if my web guy will put that up on my site. Yeah, I can try. Somebody's trying to call me again. Sorry. They've tried to call me 3 times during this webinar, so it better be good. All right, you guys have a great week. If you need me, hunt me down. You know how to find me. Someone on here is going to give me an address. Nobody gave me an address. An address. I was going to look up a lockout or something. Let me see who it is. Problem is J Tour. Is that you? Nope, nope. It's Geraldo. Geraldo, call me about the lockout. Give me the address and I'll look it up for you. Okay. Bye, everybody. Have a great day. And if you need me, hunt me down. Bye-bye.